Coming unprepared.
Disguising your weaknesses as your strengths.
Being full of yourself.
Asking really silly questions.
My favorite one is, when you ask somebody to tell us something where they can improve upon, or these are your strengths, but what are some of the things that you need to work on, and that it shows whether you know a little bit about yourself. And most people end up telling you their strengths garbed as improvement areas, and you catch them immediately. And so I've called this out many times with certain, and I've hired people and then told them that this is what you said, and we had a good laugh about it. But that is one thing that is a mistake that most people end up making, and it doesn't work well, in my opinion.
People who have a sense of entitlement are a very, very bad fit. The company started with the belief that we don't know what we are trying to build. We just know that this is a problem worth solving, and we'll let our users tell us what is it that we should build. So when people come up with that understanding of they know what to do, or that, I deserve this because of this, that doesn't really work out perfectly.
I think the biggest mistake is to ask about work hours or holidays. It just puts you off. I mean, especially if you're a startup guy, those kind of questions, just put you off, right? So the most important is, I think you'll find all that as you go along. You're not going to be very different. So why ask all these questions, really silly questions in an interview?
One very obvious thing, but a lot of people make this mistake, is they have not checked out the Ingru app before they come for an interview. And for me, that's a red flag, right? If you've not even bothered to check out our primary product, you're not interested enough. And it doesn't matter your role, right? Even if you're applying for a DevOps person setting up architecture, you should at least check out the app. So I think that for me is, I always ask a few small quiz questions to see have they checked out the app, and for me it's a bit of a red flag.
A lot of candidates I've interviewed would have no idea about what company does. They would have not read even a little bit about who are they going to interview with. Sometimes people end up getting surprised, oh, you're the CEO. I'm like, yes, unfortunately or fortunately, I am the CEO. So that kind of ticks you off, that if you really want to join someone's mission and vision, because I'm not hiring for a job, I'm hiring for a vision and mission, and you have no clue about what's the vision and mission, kind of puts you off. Second is, sometimes people assume startup to be a place of being cool and chill. Not every startup is exactly like that, where you can walk in Snickers and half pant. Different startups operate differently, so it'll be better to not assume that every startup will be shorts and Snickers, and come a little prepared in terms of, you can take a safe bet of being smart casuals, where you can fit in both ways, rather than taking a reverse side bet.
A lot of people apply even before knowing what they want to do or which company they're applying to. I think researching well beforehand, knowing the fundamentals of the company, because honestly it's a big decision for you as well. And while you can think about just getting a job, the way you should think about is getting a job at the right place. And is this company right for you? You should know that. And that will also help the company decide on the matter or judge you in a better way.
I think the biggest mistake sometimes people make is when they're too full of themselves and don't have the humility to be able to function. And to me, that's an attitudinal piece that is very important. At the end of the day, we're a small company, so everyone's attitudes are super important, and we need everybody to align. So anybody who comes in with that thought process is not someone who's going to last too long in the company.
So I fundamentally think that people come unprepared, right? And if you ask me one word as to how people sort of look at interviews, I think it's important that people who are coming to apply for a company know as much as they can about it, because they're going to spend the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years actually working here. So if they sort of come in thinking this is just another job interview, let me see what happens, that actually comes across in the first few minutes of the interview, right? And that doesn't give any hiring manager much confidence about how long this person will stay or whether to hire them or not. So I would fundamentally think that every company is different, and people should think before they actually come in for an interview, be prepared. So that's one way I would sort of think fundamentally about whether that's something I think most applicants don't do, and that makes a lot of difference.
I think when I interview people, when I look to hire someone, Primarily, I'm looking for a culture fit. That's my primary objective. If they don't have the skill set, I can develop that. I can help them develop that. If there is a skill set mismatch between what the job description requires and what the person has, I can always find a different role for them. We have a lot of roles in the company. But one thing which I cannot make it work is the culture fit. And we at Vunic, like, we have our cultural values defined, and one of them is like being nice. We don't want to be that arrogant people. We don't want to show that, or we don't want to shout and fight for our stuff. Like, we want to be nice. Want to be nice with everyone, and we believe like we can build a good company with being nice. So a lot of people who fail our interview would be people who showing their aggressiveness and arrogance is probably like going to help them, right? Which while it is not. So we always look for that culture fit, and every company has their own culture. So anybody who interviews should first understand what that culture is, and try to first of all, like, obviously don't apply and don't go for interview if you think that culture is not going to work for you, because it's going to be a fail situation for both the company and you. But if there is a culture fit, demonstrate that, right? So, and it's not going to come from your question and answer or experience. It's going to come from your body language, how you speak, how you kind of how you carried yourself in situations before, right? So I think that's the primary thing that at least I look for. I look for that culture fit.
You know, I think the way the human behavior, the human mentality is, people most of the time what I have seen when I interview candidates is they just go after securing that position, that they need an offer letter, right? Most of the people do not kind of, understand what exactly they are expected out of. So let's say, for example, if somebody has to work for a Wipro, their system is built in a manner that even a mediocre or a non-performer is going to exist for quite some time for the organization to notice that this is not working out and take a, and they have all this luxury of training, etc., etc. But see, when you are going to go and appear for a startup, see, the first thing is that those guys are much more focused. The top guy has a visibility of everything. For example, most of the startups, the CEOs would know their teams very well, right? For example, if you ask me, I know approximately my first layer, second layer, and third layer. And even to some people who are very good performers at the agents level, right? Though we are a 1,000 employees company, but that's the level of discussions that we guys get into. But see, when you're applying for a startup, you have to know that, look, these guys are going to get after deliverables. And before you actually apply, you should rather ask them, because see, most of the JDs might not even explain what is your deliverables like, right? And so what you should do is you should very clearly ask that what is that I am expected out of. See, in my view, I have interviewed or recruited in the previous company and over here almost like 1,000 people so far. And what I believe is that most people, they do not understand their deliverables before they apply for a job. Till the time you do not understand what are your deliverables, either you would make a mistake, or even if you offered that job, you will be in high stress. So I think the expectation matching from a startup point of view or from a candidate's point of view is very important. While I believe that there are very good people outside, there's no scarcity or no problem of talent. But what I also feel that, look, especially this is Yantra's philosophy, that we may take a lot of time recruiting someone, but once we recruit, we don't give up on that person easily, because we believe that for anyone, it's a job, right? They give up on their career and they come to us for a career. So we kind of invest in people, we train them, we groom them, we do the hand-holding, and then we expect. But see, as I said, that startups will always be resource constrained, so they will be very focused on deliverables, right? And the deliverables are not happening, sooner or later people get into trouble. So I think what they should look up, in my view, is that at what stage the startup is and what is their expectation, what is the startup's expectation out of people. And there should be enough discussions around it. And see, the best part is startups don't mind. If somebody, when I'm interviewing people, if they ask me 10 questions instead of me asking them, I don't mind explaining them, right? So I think that's where the crux is.